지금 어떤 노티스 지금
Oh, yeah. So, good morning. Thank you for coming. It's good to see you. I particularly welcome and thank you for those new faces. You look like never been here before, to the best of my knowledge. So anyway, welcome and thank you. But at the same time, I'd like to request those of you who have been here, or in other words, before, in other words, the advanced students today, and please give me your permission and let me use today's continue working on the text which we have been working on. So I would rather like to, with your permission, I'd rather like to share some of the general, very important points and the practice of Buddhism, and to welcome those new faces.你打算看些该吃东西？我打算呀。他怎么的？够了。打个东西，个东西，嘛没得事儿。哦，对这打。哦，这没给的choice的话是吧？能不能怎么的？我打这个表。能不能呢？我打这个老师。哦耶。哦，对这打呢，历史你提供的用过这个都，历史你有的了这个，另外用啥个阅读讲的，这啥子？另外用啥个？南看到讲的把这搞出来个。讨论的자기 그랬을 때 내가 리야기 당하는 리스 정하던 때를 초비 세종 때 발라서 봤을 정말 리그 뜰리야 배웠던 리디오 용어 치던 거 남기 정거 다 요가라서 봤을 때 다 샘정이 꼴지 뭐 샘정이 꼴라 샘 때라 안에 지금 소수 샘비당네 삼로 꼴지 그때라 시청부 니와도 또 정말 리슨 탐지 때라 원대 기능을 소 아니 능을 째는 거 지금 그랬어 샘 꼴지 샘때 원지 샘때라 배 샘때 니와도 파 샘라야 문내 월수 리슨 탑질라 디위 내킬 진 탑고 주고 라진 콜리 탑질라 내킬 좀 되고 되자다 아니 선지 좀 된데 그때라 지근데 아니 리슨 이유때 소소 왕거 여자 소소랑이니까 다 랑이런 거 모양인데 랑이런 거 자양이 이제 뜻가르는 결혼 리스 샘 정보고 지선던데 샤바동 셰럽동 형질라 소비 니와트 샘 니와텔라 제트와이나 그런 리라 디키 용거를 나가라니 지금 아도나 지금 가짜셔나 배정식 여러 때 진행 때 랑기 보여 젠기 보여 디키가 자와스 경고래서 아니 세델라시고 심한다 다 선지 공부도 그래서 거다 아니 샘비자지고 샘비자가서 너무 시위에 본 거니 다도 노자동 셔동동 또 되게 샘 꼴죠 디가 온거 종류 아니 샘때도 담주 맨날 고다 고는 나다보다 어떻게 또 샘때도 탐지하네 원도 지령나 뒤원가 아니 결혼 안에 리그에 있으면 실리대 그자 차는 거를 뒤자 아니 리그에 실리대 샘고 니와 뒤그 리그에서 실리대를 했더니 니와 전직 정도 랑지 보면 전기 보면 하지네 아주 탑재 리그 쪽이 그래서 뒤자다 라니까 좀 랑이랑 그 모양에서 샘 정보지 쓴다니 야럽 쪽발한지가나 결혼이랑 이거 뭐 기브라니 송주베스 근데 샘 남바가 쓴다니 랑지 탐질라 등은 조에나 결혼 랑이랑 그 다차레스 그때 강치는 초소랑 랑이가 나요 그래서 성지 좀 더디 가도 잡지 남든 뭐선 소 랑일 레스 송레스 Well, of course, those of you advanced learners and practitioners, you have heard this 1,000 times before. But here I would like again to repeat the same essential, very important point of Buddhist theory and practice. First of all, and one thing that is crucial and which is fundamental and absolutely is essential and it's relevant and for our human existence, and it can be applied to all our human experiences. And that is, we all have this natural inclination, or in other words, our natural tendency is that we want to be happy, we do not want suffering. And so we do everything what we can and try to achieve this goal, the goal of obtain happiness, maintain the happiness, and sustain the happiness. But at the same time, we try our very best to avoid or try to free from the suffering and the causes of suffering. So this is essential, and this is fundamental, and it is our reality. And so Buddhism is based upon this very reality and this very fact. And then Buddhism further go on and to examine where what is the suffering and where the suffering comes from. And so when you follow the Buddhist teachings, and then to understand this reality, or this the very try to answer this very question, and then you will see that first of all, and because our body we experience the suffering and physically, and at the same time, and because we have this mind or conscious. Be in the ability, the faculty that you can senses and understanding. So, which we call the technically called mind, and because of the mind, and then we experience the sufferings and mentally. And so we want happy, and we do not want this suffering. And but happiness, the suffering arises at the body level, physically, and the happiness, suffering also arrive from within mentally. So then, and we all trying to find find a way or technique or path and some kind of method to avoid the sufferings, and both physically and mentally. So when you turn around and looking at how people are doing this, usually in order to avoid the sufferings at physical level or bodily, so people tended to go to the gymnast, and or go to and practice some form of physical sports, and or the juggle, and or doing anything physically and exercise to keep the body strong and healthy, and avoid the increase in the ability of one's sort of, you can say, immunization system, or avoid the ability and the power to resist the sufferings and the bodily, which we do. And also there are people, other than just rely on the sports and keep doing the physical exercise, and there are people who also do something combined, that is yoga. Okay, typically, and then yoga, they're doing the yoga exercise, and through the yoga and the practice of yoga, and to achieve and maintain the good health and bodily, and then avoid the suffering, and to gain the happiness. So, and then there are people who at the same time also realize that we have to have a strong mind and a healthy mind, and some kind of positive mental attitude or mental state of mind, because they believe that is the key, and to avoid the suffering mentally, and also to achieve and maintain the happiness mentally. So there are various activities and practices, and in the activities and the exercises mentally people do and engage in or take it very seriously. So this is because people do realize that both the physical and physical body and the internally the mind and has its own some kind of a capacity can do. They have its ability to do something and to us. And if we do not train ourselves and to lead and the kind of a natural the settings or the conditions of our body and the natural conditions of state of our mind, and those physical, mental power, strength, and physical the strength and could affect us, even subjugate us or control us. So in order to avoid this the negative aspects of our body, in terms of the physical strength, and also in the mind. So we do take adopt a proper method in a proper way to actually to be the master of our body, ourself, and to be the master of our mind, ourself. Not let the body sort of do the things to us. Let the mind sort of and lead us or control our the experience of our life. And so in this particular aspect, and Buddhism really offers a great the technique and the theory, and teaches us not just remain in the sort of a natural way or basic way, and to how to cope with the sufferings that occurred in our body, and or caused by our body, and the sufferings and caused our basic mind, the natural, the basic state of mind. Rather, the Buddhism and the goal of has is a serious and systematically designed program and a way or path, and to teach us how to both physically and again to be the master yourself, and particularly in particular is how to be the master of your own mind. Because Buddhist understanding is this: within our mind we do have the positive qualities. We at the same time my mind also have the negative qualities. The positive qualities such as like loving, kindness, compassion, wisdom, and all these wonderful qualities, and so Buddhism and offers a great and very effective and the technique and to help the seekers of the mental the happiness and is to meditate and to understand and to meditate those wonderful qualities. And at the same time, also Buddhism helps the individual to understand the negative aspects of the mind, or negative qualities of mind, such as like jealousy, anger, and confusions, and the skepticism, and so on and so forth, or desire, and all those negativities. So, and then Buddhism and further so it teaches and how and through and how to understand the importance of this technique, and how to really appreciate the effectiveness or the importance of the qualities of those technique, because through the Buddhism encouraged the practice, because only the way to convince the function, the effectiveness of the technique is your own practice, right? Your practice. So your practice would convincing you, would give you a real experience and teaches you what is real working and which is not. So therefore, and start with so by paying attention to what you think in your head and how you speak to others and how you determining and how you direct your attentions to all this so Buddhism and it teaches the individual practitioners, the seekers such as you, and to really rely on yourself. Okay, rely on your knowledge, rely on the wisdom and the knowledge that you accumulated by listening to the Buddhist teaching and practice the Buddhist teaching. This is because in Buddhism, it is believed that ultimately, and so you are your own master. This is told by Buddha Shakyamuni, the founder of Buddhism himself. He says that you can be your own master, and you also can be your own enemy. So why Buddha says this, and what does that mean? You are your own master, you can be your own enemy. And so, first of all, when Buddha said you can be your own master, meaning that if you understand the positive qualities of your mind, and rely on those qualities and implementing those qualities and perfect those qualities, and then you can be your own master, because then you will really can be the person to be in terms of achieving the happiness and to avoid the suffering or free from the suffering. You can be your own master in that way. At the same time also, and why Buddha said you can be your own enemy. And to understand this point, we have to know that what causes you suffering, right? What makes you feel really you have a very little, even no control about your destiny, about the qualities of your life. That is because within your mind there are causes of the suffering. And because of those causes of suffering, and then you sort of destroy yourself, you hurt yourself, and you do all kinds of harmful things and against yourself. So therefore, until you really realize those negative aspects of the mental qualities and do something about it, yes. And then especially if you rely on or sort of make a friends with and then those negative aspects of your mind and the negative qualities of your mind, you can really whatever you do, your life basically is the thing that you are against yourself. So your mind, you are your own enemy. So therefore, we have only the choice that whether we want to be the master ourselves, or we want to be the slavers of our own negative qualities of our mind, and whereby, and for that reason, we suffer. And so this is clear in the Buddhism that when you come into the Buddhist tradition, you must seeking for the refuge and in the positive qualities qualities within you. And by seeking and for the protections and with the positive qualities within you, and then everything will begin to make sense, and your goal of achieving the happiness and to free yourself from suffering can be achieved.
근데 공부하려 답이 다점직이 오래지. 공부하려 답이 다점직라 때문에 내가도랑 잡을 시험을 때자다 가도 담비 단다war다 가도 섬동네 강강가서 세기도 강강가서 때려가도 섬동데 강강가서 간다지리 때 솔로 몸잘수 때 심직지 제이라 심직지는 가서들 다와라서나 가서도 들리지리 섬동 가서 자는 말하는 쪽이 된지 동부 형태다 섬도시다 랑징 그 한지 땅 답비 근딱 니 셈비 잡을 지용도 나세야 돼. 저땅 망을 지금 나세야 지금 셈도 기마도 관이 요래. 따때라 아니 지금 너도 나세야 같이 자리 송 잡을 선든지 나세야 돼 잡아요. 어떤지 장교 때라 때니 만진 시켜보지 용라 때니 때라 때니 차당이 기용 버렸어. 때라 때니 가도 셈 리길리는 막고 남 리길리는 남바 쓰면서 돼. 당보 말이 비앙 만진 때 그래. 뒤온가 네 랑라 가위 쇼텔라 노착기 용atel라 도 저다랑 마가위 쇼텔라 셰덩기 용서텔라 네 나슴도 노슴제 셈팅이라 되네 리킬리나 막나 리킬리나 말 이기나 마슴보테 텔라 되네 어때 맞어 용거스 텔라 되네 아니 강한 정말이잖아 아니 나갈라 되네 진 참아 특설라 소바 막칠라 소바 용거스 진 신의 소소랑일 토비 쳇데 이나 소소랑일 결위 쳇데 된데 뭐 오고 당진에 제시고 아니 진 참아서 소소 파도 당아기 준비 제 마게 방가 아니 전기 발을 특성 당내 셈 같이 당부 셈 걸롱 거니라네 이 바트 특성 거 참아 특성 당 같이서야 진 처리 메고 내일 처리 메고 멜지 카당을 소바철로 솔로네 당라 아마도 시에 되게 데 셈비 당내 소소를 차당 그 셈지요나 디속텔라 지가위 속텔 소가위 속텔라 도바진도 소소무가위 속텔라 마바진도 삼로 치근디랑네 뭐가 될까지 되고 아니 특집세트 조원의 셈 시당까지 나왔다 하도 어떻게 다시 보면 노블 셈지 특집 보면 어떻게 될라더니 리길리는 남아서 막 남아 제대용 거 다 때리 파 야끼리 리라 저도나 리라 소쇼바 마시면 성쇼바 근데 소쇼바다 아니 지금 차비한 거 소샤라 차비한 거 소쇼바다 아니 셰당 근데랑 이제 소쇼바라서 받다 자동 공부 근데랑 걸 셰당 도착도 이 그냥 저 내가 나라 노그 세르티 삼로동 산데 플라네 녹티 나세데 소쇼다 마시면 내가 꼬마고들 제니칼리간 사조 소소랑이 통도서버데 소소랑이 차비한 거 안에 농민경 정도 알아 통당이 되기보다 농조 상대 때문에 이제 동tel라데 꼬마피니 농조 기진이 농마초마도 소송하는데 다 먹는 거 로프레 임바데들 내급 그런 게 차비되어 총총수가 되네 아니지 전 자윤지하다서 같이 사창다 주성도서 같은 게 단내스 망아서 또 참아 뜻 탐지 용사 싸위 나세야 돼 뭐일은 저비 나텔라 때네 차당이지 차당이라 때네 딴 이건 무슨 때라 때네 능을 연구해서 때자다 뭐게 저도 송아이나 개와츠세르데 아니 개와츠도 송고래지 어때 때자다 개와츠도 송을 송동다다 삼라 안에 지금 어다 당고 뭐게 저도 뭐이 뭐 선바지니 세소나 들리 또 송당하나 또 지기면서 들리 도 송네 개와츠세고 어다 때데 뭐게 좀 좋으니 참지나 들리 지기 시고르지
So, as I said earlier, the way the Buddhists try to address or help the individual seekers and to achieve its fundamental goal, that is want to be happy and want to free from the suffering, it offers a very unique path, and in many cases is kind of overlapped with other traditions, but fundamentally it offers a very unique path, and it's a kind of a direct path, and the path and through the heart of the issue or the causes of the trouble. And, first of all, Buddhism teaches the individual and the spiritual seeker to see that to help them to understand their fundamental outlook, right, in terms of their experience. And so Buddhism teaches the individual see how you really look at yourself. It's and your understanding, your view, and your philosophical and your philosophical position and or the philosophical presentations, and which is defined determines the outcomes, all the outcomes. So make this conversation a little simple, and Buddhism began to say, all the causes of your suffering, and in terms of the cause, where it come from, is because of due to your misunderstanding of yourself, your understanding of your identity, and your appreciation of yourself. Okay? And your view about yourself is the main cause of all the misery. Why this is so is because Buddhism teaches that when you look in your own identity, right, when you sort of turn your focus into yourself, look at how you examine how you appreciate yourself, and fundamentally that you have a very wrong idea about yourself. Your understanding of your identity, your knowledge about yourself or selfhood essentially is wrong, because prior to achieve the Buddhist wisdom, and you naturally assuming and naturally believe that you as a person, you as an individual, and individuality and or individual person, that you believe yourself is marked by three qualities. Okay, you're yourself. So your identity, or you as a person, essentially kind of marked by three qualities or features, and then in the three different qualities. That is, first, you more or less, and then innately and naturally, you feel yourself as a permanent, changeless entity. Okay, that's how you feel, and that's how you sort of look at yourself. I believe you are first is permanent and changeless. And then secondly, you believe that you are pure, you are good, and you are clean, right? And so you're clean, you're pure, and you're good. And that's what naturally, then you identify yourself in that way. And then thirdly, you identify and you believe yourself is a Unitarian, independent, and self-sufficient. Okay? Is Unitarian and independent and self-sufficient, right? So with these three, so you identify yourself with these three unique misperceived views, and then you give a power to your mind, yourself, and to attach in your identity. Okay, so you're not permanent, but because you misunderstood, you misperceive yourself as permanent, then your tendency is naturally you want to be right and last forever, and which is against the essential the nature of the cause of the nature of reality. And then you are not, by no means, is a pure, absolute pure, clean, and good. And but if you truly believe that's your identity, that's the quality, that's the sort of a unique feature of yourself, and then obviously you will attach to that this second aspect of your false, mistaken, and individuality, or the qualities of yourself, right? And lastly, you are not independent at all, and you're not a Unitarian, you're not a self-sufficient. But if you do believe it attaches to this very quality, and that you project it upon this yourself and objectively, then of course you will have an attachment to that very self, and thereby then it will give you the power and sort of justify yourself and to do whatever you can and to protect your individual self-interest. So Buddhism teaches that something is absolutely opposite from these mistaken views or misperceived or understanding of self-identity. Buddhism says there's no such individuality. Okay, this individuality marked by three qualities, and meaning that permanent and pure and independent is wrong is not existed at all. So instead of say Atma is the permanent Unitarian and pure self. Buddhism teaches Anatma. Anatma is no self, no such a self. Okay, and yourself is not such an individual person at all. And then Buddhism offers a completely very unique and very profound and philosophical outlook on the philosophical and wisdom and understanding that says you yourself is the designated entity. Okay? You yourself as a person is the result of a designation and the result of by designating and through the process of designation. So what that means is that essentially look around. When you concern yourself, right? Who you are and what you are, and you will end up see there's 5 fundamental and components. Okay, 5 components that constitutes you as individual person, as a individual person. Those 5 fundamental components of you as individual is form. Okay, that's generally speaking, that's applied to your physical body, form, and then the sensation, sensibility or feeling, and then thirdly is perception, and then fourthly is the mental formation, and finally is volition. So those are 5 essential components, okay, of you as individual. You yourself as a person is by designating and based upon those 5 components and then designated, say I or you. So that's how you come up with the idea of I or person, right? And so today we're going to, at the end of this discussion, I'm going to encourage you to meditate, okay, and practice meditation with me. And the theme for for today's meditation is to looking for yourself, okay, and see where is this self. Yourself is as an individual person, as someone, and where is it, right? And what do you mean by I? So your very proclamation or your assertion and the way you claim I or me, what is there going on? What is going on? So by what? For what reason? And based on what kind of understanding? And you call yourself as I or person. So try to search and find out that I. If you can't find it, right? You're searching, and more or less, will take you to reach the point where you find something that's unfoundable. Okay, so if you do this analytically, right, correctly, analytically, and this meditation will lead you to the point where you can see yourself. You can find that independent, Unitarian, pure, good self. So when you reach this point of unfoundable, right, and then try to maintain in that state of unfindability with great clarity, okay, and supported by the stability, and so and then anyway, and so the opposite is this. So whenever you identify yourself as, say, I am a prominent, and I am independent, and I am good or pure, and then, technically in Buddhism, this is called wrong view. Okay, wrong view. So our goal, and as a practitioners of Buddhist teaching, is that to understand, clearly identify this wrong view. Okay? And then cut out and or free yourself from this misview, right? Because this misview, as we said, due to this misview, and we will misidentify ourselves by misperceiving and misidentify yourself as such an unexisted, not existed self, and then you will suffer, right? So in contrast, right, by understanding yourself is not such an entity, but rather as a designated entity, right? And then you depend on, and live with that wisdom, which understands the true nature of your identity, and you will free from the misview. And then, whereby, of course, everything and you do will be virtuous, and then so desired happiness will naturally arise. And so anyway, the point is this. So you always say I, right? And when you're born, the moment you're born, right, and you have this senses of something that's unique to you, something is very natural, very crucial, and you feel that way. That's you call it I, right? And then when you began to senses recognize, be able to appreciate or differentiate the things between you and not you, any others, and then you begin call I, me, right? And then with that innate sense of you as person, you as someone, and you will respond to whatever occurs to you, or you feel, or you think of, right? This will naturally lead you to respond to the things, the events, and your senses or your understanding. That will manifest at body level, verbal level, and mental level. Okay, in very differently. At a body level, and you will, from a negative point of view, or from a negative perspective, and if you misidentify yourself, right, misperceive yourself, attach this wrong philosophical understanding of your individuality at a bodily level, you most likely and very often or quite sure that you were committed to 3 different non-virtuous or evil and bad actions. The non-virtuous or bad actions typically from Buddhist training or spiritual discipline, spiritual practice point of view, a training point of view, would be first, you more or less will engage in the worst case scenario, you will engage in killing, right? And murder someone, take someone's life, and then put someone in death. So that's the killing. The first negative action, the worst case scenario you might committed is killing, and secondly, the bodily, and you might will committed to stealing. Okay, stealing. The stealing here is that you would try to seize the chance, right, or take the chance to take the things which is not being given freely to you, or the things which is you are not entitled to use, or have it, or keep it, possess, but you're going to take the chance and try use it by all the means. Try to keep it, take it and keep it, and make it as your individual's the property. So that is the stealing. Right? Technically, that's what the second bodily non-virtuous action you might have committed in the worst case scenario. And then thirdly, at body level, the worst case scenario which you would have committed and under the influence of this misperceived self and this wrong and false I understand of I or individual person, you would have committed is sexual misconduct. Okay. Sexual misconduct, is generally speaking, that you will engage in the out-marriage sex, and that's including the raper and the raping, and or some other serious and crime that can be identified, and it's sexually oriented. You will do that. So then that's the 3 most serious and negativities, the non-virtuous action, and the one one may commit it under the influence of a misperceived I or the wrong philosophical understanding about the individuality. And then then at the verbal level, and same thing, under the influence of the same misview or the false understanding of yourself, and verbally, and you might engage into the actions and such as like a liar, right, and the divisive speech, and then you would say that make it meaningless or pointless comments, Then the fourthly, you would engage in what we call abusive speech, right? So liar, abusive speech, and divisive speech, and then the pointless, meaningless conversation. So those are the four action. So non-virtuous action you would engage in at the verbal level. And so here, let me make a little bit clear that divisive speech, lie, of course, we know is not being tell the truth, right? And abusive speech is abusive words or harsh words. That's you say something that's really very, very hurts, right? And then, but the divisive speech is this, right? The divisive speech generally is that you attach to as a certain thing, and like especially the person in terms of relationship. This is important in terms of relationship. So you want to be sort of out of attachment, out of misperceived the identity of you as a person or who you are, and you would so make it as the speech or comments and to destroy the good relationship between the two other individuals or other communities or nations, whatever. And so you see, and they are doing well, and harmony, and their relationship is harmony and good. And but you go and you say the things is mistaken and is wrong, but you still make it, and then cause the confusions and then cause the those very closely and the friendship. The people, two nation or two community, and so began to doubt about the others and the other party and others, and then began to separate or become hostile. So this is what we call the divisive speech. And the meaningless, pointless speech is that you generally you just keep talking. And you don't have the particular purpose. You don't know why you say so, or what's the purpose. Fundamentally, probably just be chatty and talkative and driven by the attachment to your friends or someone or something, and you think that's good and is doing your favor. And out of this kind of attachment, you will commenting, you will say a lot of things about good things about that very particular individual or particular thing or event, and out of attachment and press it, right? At the same time, and you would make a negative comments and criticizing and or say something that's not nice about the things or events or others. Which is you think is not doing you a favor, or you not care about it. So this is the pointless and meaningless speech you mind doing. So those are the four things in the body level, is verbal level, and then we have three negative or non-virtuous action. And again, the same thing, and under the influence of misperceived self-identity, or under the influence of wrong philosophical discourse and about who you are or what you are, and you wouldn't, and again mentally, you will engage in the three very different negative activities or non-virtuous actions. And first of all, so you will mentally you will have this the confusion, or we call it the wrong view, right? Confusion or wrong view. In other words, the incorrect, right? Both so incorrect view, you will have the hold the incorrect view, and you will have you will remain in the state of lack of clear understanding. Right? So you will remain in the state of lack of clear understanding at the same time, and you will attach to the wrong view, such as like a denial of the existence of the cause and the effect, right? And a denial of the existence of reincarnation, and so that is the wrong view and the misview, right? And then that is the non-virtuous mental action, and then you will experiencing and or respond to do the things with a strong desire and or attachment. So that's the second negative action, or the wrong non-virtuous action. And then finally is the anger. So anger is like hatred, right? Being hateful, angry about it, and events, express your your anger and towards others. So those three, at the mental level, you experiences, and wrong view, anger, and covetousness or attachment. And so those three mental non-virtuous action, plus the four verbal non-virtuous action, and then finally, and then plus the three bodily non-virtuous action, that makes the 10 non-virtuous action. So those are 10 non-virtuous actions that are subject to abandonment. Okay, subject to abandonment. And here in Buddhism, it's understood that, or it's believed that those 10 are the causes of all the negative experiences, right? Because of this 10 non-virtuous action, and since it is a non-virtuous, and that will produce unpleasant experience, that is unhappiness or suffering. And oppositely, right? Oppositely, now we understand that in the trainings of Buddhism, in terms of how to achieve the happiness, how to maintain the happiness, right, and how to perfect that state of the desirable and a life, and the state of life, is that you must understand, clearly identify the 10 non-virtuous action, and then take the opposite action, which use the practice or the behavior or the understanding and offset as an antidote, as something that's an antidote to cope with the 10 non-virtuous action, 10 virtuous action, right? So identify the 10 non-virtuous action and then adopt, right, and live with the 10 virtuous quality, and then that is if you're doing so, and by doing that, and you are undertaking the discipline of Buddhist spirituality, and you are technically called you are on the path to the enlightenment. And so anyway, understand this 10 virtuous quality, and then adhere to it, okay, and rely on to it, and perfect it, and that is the Buddhist practice, and that's the Buddhist discipline, and fundamentally, and that is at the essential level, a basic level. That's how Buddhism teaches the individual, the seekers of the individual and seekers of happiness and at the individual level, how to achieve one's own goal as well as collectively to achieve everybody's goal.
Tena tene lingri sumbu shawa ne ta tanda ga sochu ma gi jo de be ko jongram ro dangbong nganzin shik chimbo ji rang jinzin shik chimbo ji tela tene chadang yi ji chadang yi tela de ra da yin gi chabar ji ra da yin de ta de de ko chora ma no tela tene ta lingri sumbu shawa ta song de ji ngo za dangbo sem ge dang la nga se de nganzin de pa nga se de za za de so nga se de shu de de zimba shik chimbo de me a ji na 딱 나자나 젠세리 카프시아부도 치파르도 아주 정말 너도 비스미요 받아 치파르 등은 너도 비스미요 받아 치파르 텐데 소라데도 받아 치파르 강도 기와도 치파르 샤완 치파르 안데 지들이 지든디 감나 네와던 지파 정말 치파르 차 탐질라 삼로도나 아니 섬진 탐 나나나 세드 지메 정말 차님 그셈 시sha는 거 차님 그셈도 샥토와이나 델라테네 소라데도 소라도 시죠 라닝 그 소라도 말 대매조나 심지 공식다 나때 다 샤바다 한지 기침보잖아 년기도 시당 근데 강라때나 지금 기금 소화되는 걸로 특히 그래서 어때 저때 농비 정도 시고래 알아서 소소 지당 미소소 감당 미와 남아나 저래 된 소소고 상무당지로 오늘 때도 지금 랜드 말해서 리피트 하시던 거 밀어요 남수지고 리파트 배줘 동이 그런 데서 간다지 그래 다시 당네 어때 오늘 좀 소소 놀라 바바들 못하니 봐장 다들 놀라 바바 메테 때도 지금 녹신나서 통과나 대공단 자자
So next we're going to practice our today's meditation, and before we start our meditation session, and I'd like to again remind you that the importance of today's meditation practice in general and as well as here in this particular context. First of all, again, Buddhism do believe attachment to the misperceived self. Okay, your attachment to the misperceived self, technically called grasping at self of a person. The grasping at a self of a person, that is misperceived attachment to the misperceived self, is the primary cause of all sufferings. All sufferings. Why? Because here's the thing. You have to apply your own life experience, your own individual's experience. See, here is the thing, how it goes. Right? As long as you feel this misperceived self is there, all right, it's so solid, so strong, and so forceful, and then you will naturally experience two things: attachment and aversion. Okay? Attachment, aversion, or likeness, dislikeness. It will naturally, the feeling definitely occur. When you experience the feeling, as soon as you had a thought say, I or me, which is misperceived, which is wrong, which is false, and then you will feel naturally, right away, you will feel the attachment to a certain thing. At the same time, and you will experience the rejection or denial or aversion, dislikeness of something the opposite from what you have been attached to. Okay, so this will give you the experience of happiness, the feelings of happiness, and the feelings of suffering, or feelings of frustration. Okay, and as long as you feels happy or frustrated, and you will continue experiencing this attachment and aversion. Okay, and so out of the attachment, and you will classify a certain group of people or certain individual, thing or events as friends. Okay? You will label them, say, they are my friends, they are my beloved ones, or he or she is my friends. By the same time, as long as, or as long as you experience the disappointment and frustrations and anger, and then you immediately will label that very thing, event, or individual group of people, or the single individual person as your enemy. Okay? So, or someone is subject to or can be hated or hateful. And so this experience of attachment, aversion, and the classifications that you mentally made as enemy, as friends, will lead you to respond to the things, the events, and to the person. So that very thing, and from a spiritual point of view, a spiritual, moral, spiritual, ethical point of view, and immediately your action can be classified or can be divided into virtuous action and non-virtuous action. Okay, and so non-virtuous action, obviously we talked about before, will lead you to the experiences of pain and suffering, and the virtuous the action will lead you or produce the happiness and the peace and the good experiences to you. So that is from Buddhist point of view is very clear. That's crystal clear. And then here, in terms again the meditation. So what I encourage you here is that look at your senses yourself. Okay, feel how you feel yourself, how you see yourself, how you feel yourself. And your feeling is, oh, I'm here, I want to be happy. Okay, I'm here, and I do not want pain and misery. Well, that's true, right? You will not deny that, and that's your how you real feels. Okay, then, and then looking around to yourself, right? Sort of scan through yourself. Where is that self who want to be happy and who do not want misery? When you're looking and seeking this self from any aspect of your mere existence or from your very existence, right? And physically, mentally, you examine it, right? You try to locate it, try to track it down, try to find out that very individual self, you, who want to be happy, who do not want suffering. Your searching should be taking you to the point, help you to reach a point where you find that really nobody there who is solid, conquered, unitarian, and independent, and existed objectively and operating under its own power. You will not find such a thing, as an individual. Okay, so reach this point, and then your realization is, aha. So I up until this point, I always thought, so individual. I am as a person, me as an individual person, and I am, and is something that is really sort of self-sufficient, independent, right? And I'm operating everything so independently, but that's not the case. Okay. And then hold on to this realization and this wisdom, right? This the unique Buddhist understanding of the self, and then apply this very wisdom, right? And then look around everyone next to you and go further and expand your senses of recognition or understanding of everyone and throughout the universe. And then you will know, as far as the happiness are concerned, everyone in the universe, all sentient beings, without exception, are seeking for exactly the same thing. Okay? They want to be happy. As far as the try to avoid or free from this, the concerns about how to free from suffering, everyone throughout the universe, without a single exception, and everyone also is desired and aimed to and do the same thing, try to avoid the suffering. So in this particular regard, that there's no any distinction between you and anyone else at all. So you and all are absolutely the same, on the same page, and exactly the same. Right? So keep this realization, right? And then stay there. And that's technically in Buddhism we call it equanimity. Now you equalize, right? You truly equalize and truly see and through your analytical and inquiry, you find that's the case. So then you will, as long as you stay, right, in that very wisdom, and then that's a distinction of so certain people is my friend, certain people is my enemy, and because of the labeled friends, the attachment comes, right? Because the label is an enemy, and then aversion arises. So these feelings or this your basic general human experience will cease. We will stop operating. Okay, and and then you will develop everyone equal, everyone exactly the same. And so I'm say this is that so this is that if you're doing so, your experience will really confirm that is the case. But essentially, this idea from Buddhist scripture and from Buddhist the teachings, right? And so whether it's working or not, it's I let you make your own call, and I let you decide and how you're going to do and what you're going to do with this the information or this knowledge, and which I learned from the Buddhist scripture or taught by from the Buddhist traditions. And so one thing that I must point out is that unlike many other religions, and Buddhism here is encouraged and to a great extent merely want you to reach your own conclusion by apply your intelligence, okay, your logical reasoning, your critical analysis, and use your intelligence, use the wisdom, and to examine the Buddhist teaching. Right? And the teachings, particularly regarding the topics we have talked about, like I and selfhood, the true status or nature of the identity or the individuality, and so yes, apply your wisdom and your intelligence and your knowledge and challenge the Buddhist teaching. If it makes sense, and go ahead and apply it. And rely on it and exercise it and live with the wisdom. If you somehow feel it doesn't make sense or partially or somehow you just still don't understand, even you find something is not acceptable, and first of all, I apologize, and if you have such a feeling and or you feel so, and so my recommendation is that then never mind, and just leave it and put it aside and live on, let yourself and live on. But if it does make sense, and you feel that's the case, then yes, so practice it and perfect it.